China is making major contribution in terms of the buildup of the infrastructure in Africa. It's built several important railway connections. The African Union, the buildings have been also constructed by Chinese companies, and China has helped to finance a number of these projects as well. So I think that China is very much committed to helping to be a kind of engine of development in that part of the world. And of course, everyone has always been waiting for the awakening of Africa. And a few years ago, the Rockefeller Foundation did a very important study, and they looked at why does China seem to be succeeding in Africa where Western countries had not. And the answer they came up with is that China, when it got involved in Africa, it basically said, look, we are not interested in getting involved in the internal affairs of African countries. We are not interested in challenging the sovereign rights of these countries. We leave them as they want to be. What we're trying to do is we're trying to connect with the development part of the economy. We want to help these countries basically become more prosperous, improve the quality of life, and do all sorts of things that seemingly were on the list of impossible to achieve. And I think China is playing a very constructive role. And finally, I think China is going to be a major player in the development of the digital economy in Africa, bringing in, internet connectivity, bringing in e-commerce, and eventually even bringing in smart cities. China right now is very much focused on infrastructure development because I think that's the area of greatest need. But gradually and steadily, China will move in this other direction of being part of, I think, the traditional economic landscape. But it will be instead of itself being an import of technology, China now will be an exporter of technology, and it'll bring some of its own advances to that part of the world. So this all bodes well. I think the world will benefit greatly by not having Africa be an economic laggard, but also now seeing that Africa can become a part of the prosperous, not just global South, but the world economy, I think, and that's what everyone hopes for the future.
The all-weather relationship between Africa and China indicates that the relationship between the two sides is holistic. It is an unbreakable bond between China and Africa. The relation touches all aspects for common destiny, for common growth, for common achievement. So this statement indicates that the future relationship between Africa and China is unbreakable, highly glued, highly related, and highly in alignment with their own interests. Even in his statement, President Xi addressed that a true friend is a fellow traveler. Again, he also mentioned that no one should be left behind on the road to modernization. These two statements are very critical. In His Excellency's speech, the core idea is if we join hand in hand, if we work together, I hope the future is bright. This is the message what the President addressed to the gathering, to the delegation, to the heads of states of Africa and other invited guests. This is the best time for China. This is the best time for Africa. This is the best time for others to create an equal order, to create an inclusive order, to create a multipolar order, to create a multilateralism. This is the best time for every global actor to have equal voice, to have equal say in the global agenda.
We are happy to learn that China, as the President has said, is willing to work with Africa for an inclusive development without leaving anyone behind. Development must be inclusive. Development must not leave some people behind.